Good morning, security gang, and welcome back to the CyberHub Podcast. James Azar here. I'm the host and Chief Information Security Officer. Don't worry, stories are going to come up in just a second here, but we've got a packed show for all y'all today. First of all, let me begin the show by saying thank you to everyone who reached out over the weekend with birthday wishes. I'm really grateful for every single one of y'all that reached out and really appreciate it. It was great to feel loved by so many of y'all that actually remembered because I took it off a lot of social media. So the people who remembered actually remembered. So thank you to every single one of y'all this morning. I really do appreciate it. We've got a packed show today, a lot to talk about. So we're going to get right into this morning's show. But before we do, coffee cup cheers. My wife, bless her heart, amazing, got me this new mug. Very cheery, very Mariah Carey season-ish. It is Mariah Carey season after all. So coffee cup cheers, y'all. All right, we're going to get into what's happening in the world of cybersecurity. It's been a rough and tough week, and a big, big weekend. But we'll kick off with the Thursday evening jolt. This was my Saturday article. You're getting a preview to it. It's typically our Saturday articles are available to our paid subscribers first, and then they become available to everyone else. So you're getting a sneak peek into what would be released next Sunday. So Tim Brown's SEC case had Tim Brown, the CISO at SolarWinds, had his SEC case dismissed on Thursday with prejudice, meaning there was no reason to begin with why this case should have even been brought up in the first place. For many of us practitioners who were watching this case with close eyes, many of us know Tim. Tim's a friend. And Tim's been through a 5-year nightmare that's coming finally to an end. A 5-year nightmare where he went up against the Securities Exchange Commission in the United States government for no reason whatsoever. There was no basis for the case. And the SEC, under some common sense leadership, reviewed this case and reached the same conclusion that we've all been talking about since this case has been brought forward, which is it has zero merit. It doesn't need to happen. There's no reason for it to exist. Well, tonight, on Thursday night, that all came to an end. And what a Thanksgiving Tim Brown and his family will be having this week as they all come together to really celebrate and give thanks. But most of all, they get to enjoy some much needed time together. So with that being said, congratulations, Tim. Congratulations to SolarWinds. And thank you to SolarWinds for doing the right thing, for sticking with Tim through all of this. We often hear of CISOs that go through events getting dismissed or moved to advisory roles. SolarWinds did none of that. Tim Brown stuck around, rebuilt his program, dealt with this, and SolarWinds stuck by him shoulder to shoulder. And so that's rare in today's corporate environment. So good for SolarWinds there as well. So that's our big story of the day. One of them. We've got a whole lot more. Let's get into those, where Iberia is notifying that customer data did leak through a vendor breach. Iberia, the Spanish airliner, says a supplier was compromised, exposing names, emails, and loyalty IDs. No passwords or payment data was exposed. The actor also claimed to sell 77 gigabytes of Iberia data online. Iberia has enabled extra verification on account email changes and has also notified authorities in Spain. You could look at some account takeover attempts against loyalty members, like travel fraud or points resale, even some social engineering. Again, MFA challenge here should be taken by Iberia, and they should add anomaly detection for unusual redemptions, all in all, because those redemptions equal cash. So again, kind of showing you what's going on. Again, third parties. It wasn't even Iberia, but that's, again, third parties there, where these types of incidents continue to take place, and significantly. 2 law enforcement agencies hit with cyber attacks in 2 different parts of the country, one in Oklahoma, one in Massachusetts. Cleveland County, Oklahoma, and Attleboro, Massachusetts. Law enforcement organizations reported disruptive cyber incidents impacting even services and some public portals. And again, they typically target cities, and these systems don't always get hit. Here we had 2 over the weekend, showing you a concerning shift at targeting the actual systems used by law enforcement and first responders coming into play. Any sort of public safety operation could result in a kinetic follow-up. We've seen that happen in Europe, where there were cyber attacks. We've seen Iran, talked about it last week on the show, where Iran was using these types of cyber incidents in order to launch kinetic types of attacks. Again, these could have significant ramifications. Now, this isn't happening in big places, but this could be testing the field, right? Seeing the kind of disruption in smaller places to see the response in order to measure how you would do it on a larger scale, potentially followed by some sort of kinetic event. You got to remember there's a lot happening in our nation, and our nation is fairly big, and law enforcements in different parts of the countries have different priorities when it comes to public safety. So that comes into play there. Citizen-facing portals could experience some significant downtime. Evidence integrity and even chain of custody risks do rise with these types of attacks, and record systems also could be impacted. Again, offline backups should be always tested, and tabletop exercises should be focused on what would happen and how would law enforcement respond in the event your technology systems were all out of whack. So that is significant there. We'll move to Cox Enterprises disclosing that they too were part of the victim EBS suite breach. Saying that the compromise tied to Oracle's e-business suite resulted in data exposure. This is one of the multiple Oracle EBS related incidents surfacing this quarter. Again, we've seen a whole bunch. We talked about them last week. But again, if you haven't patched this environment, you should be doing it right now. Again, potential exposure of ERP, health, PII, and operational data could have significant impact on an organization's performance or even competitive edge. You could look at downstream identity abuse against even employees or partners. You could have procurement fraud. So all of those come into play. Best thing to do is you've got to inventory your third-party integrations. You've got to look at your SSO implementations and service account tied into Oracle. You should be rotating your keys and secrets even after patch. And then make sure you do backport mitigations, enable strict IP allow list and per integration least privilege for all of the other tech in the environment. Salesforce is edgy, and I can understand why. They've now revoked Gainsight's access after unusual activity happening on the platform. Salesforce detected what may have enabled unauthorized access to customer data via the Gainsight app. It revoked tokens, pulled the app from the app exchange, and is notifying affected customers. Threat actors claim data theft from 248 organizations via this path. 284 organizations via this path. And again, SaaS to SaaS supply chain risk continues to be critical. And this is where a lot of security teams have blind spots. What's connected into your Salesforce? You don't often know. And these apps are downloaded because no one in security you may or may not manage Salesforce, right? Salesforce is typically managed by the business, and you simply create the policies that support the business risk acceptance frame. But here with these third-party risks on targeting SaaS apps like Salesforce, we're seeing that become really popular. Salesforce on edge. So the moment they recognized something wasn't there, they immediately went through and cut it out. And again, good for them. You should be auditing every connected app in Salesforce. You should remove anything that's unused. You should rotate tokens of any existing apps. You should enforce SSO and OAuth scopes. And you should deploy either a CASB or a SaaS posture tool in play. One key thing, you should create detections for mass report exports and any sort of anomalous API volumes. And you should also contractually require third-party breach notifications and logs on demand in the event of any sort of unusual activity there. Good for Salesforce, and good luck to gain insight there as well. CrowdStrike terminating an insider who was leaking internal screenshots to threat actors. CrowdStrike confirming an insider shared screenshots from internal systems externally. The company says no customer data or systems were compromised. The threat actors claim they tried to buy access or cookies for $25,000, and it just shows you the risk for what amount of money. The insider threat risk is significant, and it's real even for security vendors themselves. We know that happened at SentinelOne. Now we see it at CrowdStrike. Exposure of internal tooling or telemetry can aid attackers' tradecraft and targeting. So any sort of screen capture or clipboard controls on sensitive hosts should be blocked. DLP rules for screenshots should be deployed. Decoy credentials and SSO cookies to detect exfil and attempts resell. Insider risk analytics on abnormal sharing, screenshot burst, or even tool access should all come into play here as well. And again, this one significant, good for CrowdStrike for tracking it down and putting an end to it. Everyone says China and Russia are aligned, that they're one big axis of evil. There's some truth to that publicly. However, behind the scenes, a cyber battle has been brewing between China and Russia for quite some time. Now, China APT-31 hacking Russian tech firms for years, allegedly infiltrating Russian technology firms tied to government contracting, blending public tools with custom malware, timing operations for weekends, holidays, and exfiltrating via Yandex Cloud. If they do it to your friends, your supply chain is also fair game. China and Russia are not real friends. And I mean, there's greater geopolitical aspects to ending the Russia-Ukraine war, primarily kind of isolating China, which is primarily the goal of the current White House president. And so there's a lot to it. President Trump really focused on China, and so he's trying to kind of quirl everything around that so that he can focus all of the world's energy on making sure China doesn't take Taiwan and making sure China starts to play fair. So again, these types of attacks, significant. And again, they were using Russian tech. And I guarantee you, when Putin made these deals with China, it was like, yeah, this will make us friends. It never does. The Chinese only care about one thing, the Chinese, and they don't care about anything else. And so that's the case here. Again, these operations going on for years. This isn't something new. Using a range of tools, using various APTs from 31 to 27 as well. And so with friends like China, who needs enemies would be the statement of the day there. Browser security firm SquareX versus Perplexity, alleging common browser MCP risk. So SquareX claiming a hidden MCP API plus common extensions could be abused with additional compromise to execute local commands. Perplexity disputing the research, but added precautions were taken in order to mitigate some of the risk. Again, AI browser supply chain extension risks are real. We know this happens all the time. So it's something to keep in mind as well as you're looking at these new browsers that are coming into play. They're not as vetted. There's still a lot of issues there as well. So if you are allowing usage, you want to restrict that usage as much as possible and put as much visibility into it as you possibly can, because that'll go a long way towards helping you there. So we'll continue with a critical Oracle Identity RCE, and it's a possible zero-day use. Oracle Identity Manager has a critical remote code execution vulnerability that may have noted that may be exploited as a zero-day. CISO later flagging the issue as an active exploit, adding it to its Kev catalog, patch, and mitigate immediately. Watch for vendor guidance for the exact CVE linkage. Oracle fixed part of this, but this vulnerability is being tracked as CV 2025-61757. Although it's been resolved, but there's some stuff there. You want to make sure you patch this ASAP in your environment. We'll continue with more vulnerabilities. The Azure Bastion input validation flaw. This is CVE 2025-49752. Researchers detailing how an Azure Bastion vulnerability allowing bypass of security controls via malformed input. Microsoft's guidance is up to date and follow hardening procedures. Ensure Bastion is on the latest build and enforce NSGs and just-in-time access to VMs. You should also have conditional access plus PIM for Bastion use, session recording, and command logging there as well to help strengthen that. Grafana releasing a security update. Enterprise 12.x with SCIM enabled allowed external ID abuse that could map to internal user IDs, enabling impersonations and privacy escalations. It was fixed in version 12.0.6 plus security-01, 12.1.3 plus security-01, 12.2.1 plus security-01, and 12.3.0. SCIM misprovisioning can yield admin access takeover across observability stacks, so you want to patch this immediately and make sure you get it taken care of. SonicWall, for their end, saying a high severity flaw in the firewalls and ESAs is patched. They've released multiple fixes for high severity issues across firewalls and email security appliances. Customers are urged to upgrade all of these ASAP. That's it for our show this morning. We'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern, live with all the latest news. Until then, thank you all for tuning in. Make sure to go check out cyberhubpodcast.com for all the latest. Subscribe and follow us on your favorite social media platforms. And if you have any stories or any questions, you can always engage us right on our website at cyberhubpodcast.com, where the after part of the show is absolutely free. You can go subscribe, get it directly in your inbox, or through LinkedIn or any other social media platform. Have a great rest of your day. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone watching. And most importantly, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.